Hello, everybody. Good evening, almost good morning. Thankfully, not good morning yet. These 9 p.m. start games are going to murder me. But I'm Andrew Dukowitz of Zone Coverage Beat Reporter for the Wolves, Lynx, and Gophers. And we got Jace Frederick from the Pioneer Press. How's it going, man?
Hey, Andrew, pretty good, man. About you? I mean, you can't not be great after watching 2.5 hours of Boston basketball.
I never thought I would be able to relive the New Jersey Nets, San Antonio Spurs games of the early 2000s, but we did, and I am so thankful for that. I mean, I guess we'll just get into whatever this was tonight. 94-88, Wolves end up pulling off the win. I mean, is there anything you can learn from a game like this other than is just a rock fight?
Yeah, I mean, learn, I don't know. Definitely a rock fight. It was interesting to watch a team late in the game be like, man, how do we generate more Brook Lopez threes? Kind of the Clippers release valve, and then it would turn into their go-to option. So like it wasn't, even if you talk about Wolves defensively, there just wasn't a lot to defend. But I think the biggest thing, if you're the Wolves and you're looking for a positive, is like, yeah, like Anthony Edwards is almost undefendable in terms of like if he wants to get to that shot, that 3-point shot, that step back ish, sidestep, like he can do it. And he is hitting even those, even the really hard ones. We talked about how he's gotten to easier ones this year, but he's even hitting the hard ones at a higher rate, I think, than he has in the past. And that's something that's never not usable. So I think that's another thing of like the more of those he can stack, the more confidence he'll have that he'll hit him when you really need him. And the way they're playing, they might need him a lot come playoff time. But it is like it was impressive again. So I guess a nod to that.
Yeah, I mean, the first quarter started off so promising. They had 8 assists on the first 11 baskets. It looked like, all right, they're getting Dante involved. And then it's almost the second quarter started. It just seemed like everything went out the window and it was just kind of a slog for the rest of the game. But you're right. I mean, Ant hits that three over two defenders in front of
Hmm.
Finch in the bench. Cole mentions he just wants to talk about how Ant cussed Finch out on live TV. Ah, and watch all the Wolves reporters downplay it. I mean, we can start. We might be the first people to
Sure.
downplay it. I mean, what did you
I,
think of Ant?
I wouldn't
His
I wouldn't be
his
surprised.
Finch.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, obviously not there, but I wouldn't be surprised if right in front of the Wolves bench, two guys on him, Finch is yelling something like "Get off of it." I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know, didn't hear anything, but get off it, or something like that. And then Ant hits a shot over two, and then goes, "Oh, like uh, see what I do?" Like something like that. Again, I don't know. We're not there. Couldn't hear it. Didn't see like Finch melding anything. But I'm just guessing. Like if I'm Finch and I'm watching two guys right in front of him, I'm like, get off the ball. That's probably what I would do there. And then Ant does what Ant does, and emotionally probably is like that. How's that work? That's what I would think of it as. There's certainly like no turmoil between those two. Um, there hasn't been any. They've been effusive in their praise of one another. I mean, and as recently as like a game or two ago. So I don't think too much of it other than that, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Finch was like yelling at him to pass the ball and didn't and responded in kind after he hit the shot.
I Yeah, not there, so I can't
Mm.
say it, but I would, that's what I would guess it was too, was Finch in no certain terms was like, what are we doing here? Dribbling
Mhm.
into the corner, into the trap with little time left on the shot clock. And then Ant just does that thing where he just is superhuman and drills the shot. And we all know Ant, like he goes after fans if they're too loud at him. Like I don't think Finch has any sort of like immunity to it, but I don't think there's anything more than just Ants hyped up. A couple people have noticed the new mustache. Yes, I do have a new mustache.
It looks
I
good.
shaved the beard in spite of my wife and left just the mustache, as most men do, to get a rise out of her. And she said that she wasn't going to give it a rise, so now I'm just going to have a mustache until my bitterness wears out. Who knows how long that'll be. Let's get into the Kyle Anderson of it all, though, because I wasn't on the beat 2 years ago when he was here. That's obviously kind of I would assume the last bit of big news the Wolves have roster wise. That's their last open roster spot. They converted the G League kid to a 2-way contract. I mean, you've been around Kyle quite a bit. I mean, you were in the locker room both of his years here. Just What do you feel like he's going to be able to bring this year, especially to the team?
It'll be interesting in that like he's coming into a team that he's joining late.
Mhm.
So how much ownership you can take of it. But I do think it helps that it is a lot of guys that he knows and that know him and are used to him and like the way he kind of leads. He's pretty vocal. If they're playing bad, he's gonna yell about it. Obviously, we all remember like him getting in Rudy's face and the punch there, but he was also a guy where like there was a New Year's Eve game or something where he was like screaming at everybody, or really challenging everybody. And that I think is something maybe that this team needs a little bit more of is just a vocal person who's willing to kind of get into people from like the player perspective. They don't have a lot of that. Um, Kind of a lot of more passive people, like even like isn't like a get in your face and like demand more out of you kind of guy.
Yeah.
Where Kyle Anderson is that, and they could use more of that. They have veteran leaders who are soft spoken and like wise guys, but not necessarily challengers. And Kyle is more of a challenger. I think they could certainly use that. They could use more kicks in the rear that from somebody beyond Chris Finch coming in at halftime of games. So I think that'd be really beneficial. And then I think just another defender is a good thing for this team to have. Defensive versatility. I always tell everybody this, like, go watch game two when they smoked Denver when Rudy was out. Like, we remember the Nikhil Jaden play on Jamal Murray, but like Kyle Anderson had Nikola Jokic in hell that night. He can do a lot of different things. And so I don't know, like I haven't watched night in, night out of Kyle Anderson. Who knows if what version they're getting versus what they had 2 years ago, but that's what he did bring. And so for basically nothing, you get a chance to see if back under the same coach, same system, a lot of the same guys, like if that's what he can bring again, then that's a major boost for a team late in the season that I think kind of needs a spark. I think kind of needs to reestablish itself, identity, all of that, get a little bit of its soul back that we saw 2 years ago. I think if bringing back somebody from that era can kind of spark that, and get them back to a position where it's like, yeah, okay, that is elite level basketball, then it's worth a swing on like I said, a pretty cheap deal that doesn't cost you hardly anything.
I mean, it again, it's a buyout, guys, so they can just
Right.
kind of sign him outright, and it quite literally won't cost them anything. I mean, Kyle this season offensively, again, just looking at like his stats in the time since since Shams announced it, I guess, like he's the same person, right? Like he shoots
Right.
a three every other game. He's actually hitting them at like 50% this year, which please don't read into that, any Wolves fans. 2.7 assist to turnover ratio. That's right where Kyle always is. Shooting like 50% from the field. That's right where Kyle always is. I mean, his defensive rating is better than the Jazz's team defensive rating. So, like, I think you can read into it of like at least Kyle is a benefit to a bad team. I mean, the thing that kind of sucked his last year here was like after the eye injury, you could just tell he was never really like right. Like his shot just
Right.
completely fell off a cliff. His playmaking fell off a little bit. And then it is a little weird that like Golden State and Miami and Utah and now Memphis didn't want to keep him around. But like you said, I don't think Kyle likes being on a losing team, which kind of makes sense if you're Utah and Memphis to be like, yeah, I don't need that guy around
Mm.
here if he's just gonna like yell at Keontae George all day. How do you think he'll fit in like minutes wise? Do you think there is space for him to even get run on this team?
Yeah, I would say for the Memphis thing too, like just from what I've heard is that Memphis was happy to keep him and it was his side that was kind of like, I don't want to be here. So that leads to the buyout there of like, okay, well, if you want to go elsewhere, if you want to go to a contender, like we won't hold you hostage here. I don't know. There's availability, right? Like when you look
Yeah.
at TJ Shannon's not playing well, didn't play well again tonight. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, hey, those minutes. Bones is up and down. So like there are minutes available for like an eighth guy. And maybe I don't know if it'd be consistently, and I don't know if Kyle will seize that, but like there's an opportunity there for somebody to seize it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he came in and brought those things that he brought 2, 3 years ago. If he could claim some of that, if he could claim like a 12-minute a roll night, they'll have to see when he gets here. I think they're coming in with an open mind of like, hey, it'd be great if he brings at worst, if he's a leader for us, great. At best, if he can kind of recapture some of what he had, then this could be somebody who helps us out on the court. And if not, we'll know early. But he'll get a chance. I think he'll get chances out there. And think Chris Finch has always respected what he brought to the court. And like I said, like the baseline defensively would help this team a lot right now. And then like IQ wise, making good decisions with the basketball, things that he's done in the past are things that this team needs. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he gets maybe some opportunity right away and a little runway to kind of work his way into it before they know come playoff time, like, hey, is this somebody that we actually want in our rotation?
Completely agree. Especially with like Bones. I'm still not sold on him as a playoff guy. Like
Right.
I don't know if I want to give Bones like 6 minutes in the first half of a game to figure out if he's gonna just brick the first two threes or not. And at least Kyle, it's like you're giving him 6 minutes and it's going to be quality. No matter, I mean, theoretically, if he still has enough in the tank, like it's going to be quality basketball at least. Like the defense will be fine. Offensively, he might pass it to Rudy, which is like always nice and gets me excited when Rudy gets a pass. And I think it just shores that up a little bit, which kind of sucks for Bones because I do think he's had a good enough season to maybe like merit playoff minutes. But at the same time, like you said with TJ and Clark and Bones, like none of them have really like taken this job, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's just it. And there've been opportunities, and maybe they've been a little bit sporadic, but Bones had a good runway here, and it's honestly been like the real runway and the consistent minutes that we've seen, where we've seen like, hey, there's been some games where you're like, oh wow, and then there are other games where you're like, oh, that's why they were able to get this guy midway through last season. You know, like it is up and down, and it's like a lot of guys. It's like, is the 3 point shot falling or not? And it's not something that we expect to consistently fall for him. And when it's not, sometimes the minutes are a little ugly. And defensively, we know that like he's going to be a guy who's hunted. So like it's like they expect the offensive burst, and if the offensive burst is inconsistent, the defense is pretty consistently not awesome or not really contributing to the positive. So yeah, like Bones is still a youngish player. TJ
Yep.
is still a youngish player, you know, like, and those guys have time to continue to kind of grow into roles. But as far as like a winning team, a high level winning team that still thinks of itself as like a championship contender, I don't know if either has proven that they're ready to contribute to that cause. Like when push comes to shove and it's like, hey, okay, we got 7 against the Spurs or we got 7 against the Nuggets and we need 10 good minutes out of you or 10 non-disastrous minutes. And right now it's like some nights are going to be great, some nights are going to be disastrous. And I just don't think that that's what Minnesota wants to lean into right now.
I mean, that's kind of the case for bringing Mike back too, right? Of like, he might get cooked on defense, but when he gets cooked on defense, he generally like funnels them into the middle. So it's not like a wide open layup. Like on offense, his shot has completely disappeared, but is a 4.5-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Like, you know, kind of cancels out a little bit. Like if we need someone for 7 minutes, Mike can still, again, in theory, do it. I feel like that's kind of the case with Kyle too. I did want to ask you though, just because now we've had two games of TJ back. Like, what have you kind of made of TJ? He says he's fully healthy now. Finch says he's fully healthy now. I mean, what have your thoughts been on his? I mean, and again, he's only played like 12 minutes, I think, total, but like any difference that you've noticed? Because it seemed really similar.
It does. I still like offensively, there's just not a lot of comfort there. I don't know if I think maybe poor play earlier in the season. I feel like just the confidence is a little bit drained. It just doesn't look like he's getting out in transition as much either, which is really has to be his bread and butter.
Yeah.
And defensively, the fouling is just the same. I mean, it's like a foul magnet. Sometimes that can just be being in the wrong position, precarious situations, whatever the case may be. I know at least one of them was. A couple of them, I think, tonight were like trying to be the one back in transition, but it's pretty much like if he's guarding somebody and that person's driving to the hoop, that guy's going to be shooting 2 free throws momentarily. So it's tough defensively when you're trying to string together stops and stuff when there is somebody who's either putting guys in the line or continuing to build up towards the bonus. Yeah, it's been really disappointing on the defensive end, and offensively, like there just doesn't seem to be a lot of confidence or direction there, or like that he knows what he wants to try to get to. So it's been a real struggle. It's one of those where I don't think they want to give up on him because they love the idea of like the two-way potential that they thought was in there in the summer. So they keep
Yeah.
trying to be like, just keep going back to it and see if we dig it out. But we aren't even seeing flashes right now, Andrew. Like we're just seeing poor play. So I don't know how much longer they can really ride that out as they try to find something in terms of sustained success here.
Yeah, it's just Finch said it in one practice that he's just like Finch. I think I forget how he phrased it, but essentially it was like he's always just a step late because he's used to being like a hyper athlete that can recover.
Mhm.
And ever since that, I've just noticed that a lot more of just like he's about a step late to every closeout. He's a step late getting in front of people every time. And I mean, once that's like on a scouting report for these like bench guys to know, like it's hard to recover from that. You know what I mean? Unless you just, I mean, I'm almost to the point where it's like maybe you just punt on him until the off season and try it again next year. But it sucks because he's such a good kid.
Mhm. Right.
Like that's what sucks about it is like, he's a
Mhm.
good person. I don't want them to just punt on his career, but like at the same time, like I don't think he can play minutes in the playoffs right now, which is when he was kind of being labeled as that Nikhil replacement. Like that has to be kind of a gut punch for the organization.
Yeah, I mean, it was somebody where, like, when he was coming out in the draft, and obviously so productive in Illinois, especially like that last season, it was like, well, he just looks physically dominant out there. And so, like,
Mhm.
to that Finch point, it's like, yeah, he just had like whether his build and his athleticism, like he was just playing with an advantage. And that's how it looks when he plays summer league basketball too. It looks like he has an advantage out there. Like he's just bigger and stronger and faster than the opponents. And like now in these NBA regular season games, when that's not the case, he just has not found his way. And so I think it's going to have to be more skill development, especially offensively. Like you got to get better with that other hand. You've got to get more ways to score rather than just getting to the rim when you don't necessarily beat everybody in that first step and there are rim protectors waiting for you there. Like, can you develop a bit of a mid range? Can you refine that outside shot so you're more confident in it? Can you grow your handle a little bit? There's a lot of skill development to be done, I think, that I don't know that if like a summer league game is going to show us, but I think this will be the first time where he's like, okay, I have a lot to work on. So when he heads into the summer of like knowing what that is and they can give him direction on that and maybe see some real growth because like with the body and everything, it's like there is still potential in there. Um, it's just digging it out. And I think it probably does take an off season to do that at this point.
Yeah. I mean it that's what's so tantalizing about him is he is so much bigger. And to your point, like they send him down to Iowa for a G League rehab and he scores 36 points in
Right.
21 minutes. Like the guy doesn't need for all the people that were like send Rob down to Iowa. Like TJ is kind of the perfect example of why that isn't always a good idea because like he's just going to score 40 on these guys every night. Like, what do you learn playing against like that type of competition? Jace, I'm going to throw us over to a quick ad read here. When we come back, let's talk a little bit more Kyle, just because again, I wasn't in the locker room that season. And then we'll get out of here, hopefully before, it's already past midnight. Never mind. We'll get out of here at some point. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read. This time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. Catching up on chat a little bit here. Pack Mentality says he needs Kyle Anderson to come in and immediately start yelling at Julius. Might happen. I'm not going to rule it out. Cole mentions if Nas doesn't get it better, he might lose his sixth man of the year race, which I mean, I think the voting is going to be pretty skewed towards Nas just because he's a recognizable name. I don't know how much voters are actually like grinding sixth man of the year tape. Milkman also just wanted our opinion on the last couple games of just closing offense. Jace, I'll just kind of pose it to you. Like, do you feel like there has been any closing offense, or do you feel like it's just kind of been Ant forcing it, or is it the old Chris Finch draws something nice up on the grease board and then Ant kind of immediately aborts into an ISO and hits a three, which, I mean, what do you say to that when he hits a three out of that? But
if it ain't
yeah, what are
broke,
your thoughts?
I mean, I do think it's devolved into a lot of ISO ball, but I just think like Ant's been so good this year that
Yeah.
it's easy to do that. And like, if we're being honest, a lot of late game NBA basketball breaks down into ISO ball. And it is like converting out of it. Maybe it's driving and kicking, collapsing the defense, whatever. And I think that's where Finch is like, okay, that's great. Like we'll do the ISO ball thing. Oh, they sent two at you. Now we do something else. But and right now is so confident in everything he does. Like he missed a lot of shots in the second half, and then when it came to like winning time, he was ready to aim and fire, and did so successfully. So like I do think it was not pretty. I think it's the formula that they've lost with a lot in recent years. But I said, like, man, he's just knocking a lot down. And and also like when there is like a miss, they do a really good job like game of offensive glass, like pursuing the offensive rebounds, getting extra possessions, like erasing those misses so you don't even really remember them because they kept the ball. Yeah, so it's not pretty, but it's effective. Kind of reminds me of like the Tibbs offense. In the year they went to the playoffs with like Jimmy and those guys. It was like, this is kind of ugly, but it says fifth best offensive rating. So okay. That's what it feels like late game right now for them. But it is working. So yeah, I'm sure they would like to do something a little different. I'm sure that's not Chris Finch's dream, but I'm sure he'll take the results as well.
I mean, to your point, Ant in the clutch goes 2 for 6, but his two makes are basically
Yep.
the game sealer and the game winner. 9 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Wolves took 10 shots in clutch time. They only made 3 of them, and 2 of them were Ant. Like, it's as somebody who really likes the like San Antonio Spurs, like
Hmm.
2012, 17 range, where it's just beautiful basketball, and somehow Boris Diaw is hitting a three out of
Hmm.
nowhere, or like the Dynasty Warriors, like it does quite literally suck the soul out of my body when Ant launches one of those threes, but like it works. So it's really hard to argue against it when he is proven kind of night in and night out that it works. Um
It is
no,
like
go ahead.
The Clippers too, like they even tonight, like they had no offensive personnel, like nowhere to go. They're like Benedict Mathurin, you got it. He's trying to dribble up against Jaden in the full court and just getting swallowed up. But they have a lot of guys who can switch, and they have long guys, and they actually pretty good defensive game plan and like commitment to that game plan. So like Brook Lopez knew when Ant was there, like, oh, I got to be up way higher than I'm comfortable being, and guys were switching and like, okay, we're taking away the 3 point line when possible from Ant, forcing him to go to the rim, like a lot of teams have been doing. But the Clippers played good defense tonight. So like as much as I hated the Wolves offense, and I think they had a lot to work on there, I would want to at least give the Clippers a little bit of a nod of played pretty well on that end. And like that was and played with a lot of effort throughout. So that contributed to some of it. They kind of like they clogged it up a little bit. And like the Wolves are one of those teams where if you make it hard to get into their actions and get into that ball movement, they're less likely to do it. And the Clippers kind of forced them into that tonight.
Clippers do. They have this like really good, like Chris Dunn's a really good, Derrick Jones
Hmm.
Jr. is a really good defender. Like they do have just guys that can defend. To Godfrey's point here, Wolves barely win versus the Clippers with no Kawhi, Garland, or John Collins. They're going to lose in the first round. I would almost say if Kawhi played, it would have been a better Wolves win almost.
Do you remember at Target Center 2 weeks ago? I don't think that
Oh
was
yeah,
a
that
better
was
Wolves.
tough. That was tough. Yeah. The 50 burger by Kawhi.
Yeah, yeah.
Brendan adds that we have Jace tucked away in the storm cellar. We do.
This is my garage. Okay, I'm not waking anybody up for this. Too late at night, I would get in deep trouble if somebody woke up from me talking, and I didn't want to have to watch my voice. So we went in the garage.
Hey, I understood. Milkman just adds here too. Pretty sad that all 3 rookies from last year. I'm assuming you mean Clark, who is technically in his second year, but a
Sure.
rookie. But yeah, I mean Clark, Rob, and TJ all just I kind of joke off and on of just like they were basically begging for someone to take Mike Conley's job, but just no one did it. So like now he's still here and they had to trade for Io. And I mean, it kind of is what it is at this point. Pack mentality adds Benedict Mathurin was just trying to ISO Gobert the whole night. Yeah, there was a lot of calling Gobert out there, which I don't know. Like last time I
Especially for
checked, so
guys.
it might have changed over the last 2 days, but he's still averaging like 35% from three against
Mhm.
guards and ISOs. Like it's not a good ISO to call Gobert up there anymore.
And the Clippers don't even have anybody where you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna get Gobert and I'm gonna hit the step back three. Like that, nobody on their team is that their game. So like every Gobert ISO is like, I don't see how this goes well for the Clippers. Like I think Mathern eventually had like one really nice finish in that towards the end of the game, but nothing good was generated out of that.
Yeah, it is. It's obnoxious how the like at one point, yes, Gobert, I'm sure was not great ISOs against guards,
Mhm.
probably in Utah when he didn't have the same defenders he has around him here in Minnesota, but like he's been pretty solid the last 2 years. Like it's not a good idea anymore. Jace, I do want to before we get out of here, I do want to
Mhm.
ask what's your best Kyle story that you're able to tell? Because I hear random things all the time from PR assistants running his foot over in the Clippers arena to all sorts. But like, what is kind of your go-to Kyle story when you got to tell one?
Yeah, I don't know. I liked Kyle is somebody where like he is open to talk about anything. Like you could challenge him about like, oh, I think this NBA player is good, and then he'd be like, I don't know about that, and then you'd have like a 10-minute discussion about it, and then the next day he'd be like, you know, I thought about that some more, or whatever, or I looked at some of his stuff, and you're right, or whatever, or like have a new point in his argument. Like he's just one of the more fun people to actually just talk about things with. Is why I think he's probably a good leader. Is like you can have what feels like a heated discussion or argument and like never actually boils over and he doesn't actually care. Like there was one time at the end of a game where he there's like a second left and the Wolves are on the opponent's end of the court inbounding. And it was like he just throw it to anybody. Contested, they're up like three. Contested, play whatever, the second will run out. He like nobody's open, so he just like chucks it at the defender in front of him. And that person catches it and shoots it, and like it's full court, so they miss. But I tweeted, I was like, "There's only one way the Wolves could possibly go to overtime," and Kyle like took that route. And after his availability, like 2 days later, he's like, "What do you think I should have done?" Like he somehow saw the tweet. And he's like, "What do you think
Yeah,
I should have done there?" And then I just talked. I was like, I think you could have done this or this. And he just sits there and he's like, "Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying." Like, but that kind of guy, we're like the most like he's actually like, "What do you think?" And then he'll tell you why he thinks you're wrong or whatever. Like, and just, but in like the most respectful way possible. Like, but very interested in what people have to think, people have to say. Like, it just in terms of like he's always thinking and kind of trying to grow and whatnot. And, like, it's it was cool. Like for basketball, for other things in life. Like he's really fun to be around. Because he's just an interesting dude who's interested in you and everything else. So like and then like his basketball mind is just really good. Like I tweeted it out, but like from the Western Conference Finals, and this is what I think the Wolves need so bad is like there was a play to seal Game 4 basically where Cat had just made a three, and then the next time down, Ant is just turning it into like an isolation. And this is 2 years ago, Ant, not the same isolation player he is now.
yeah.
And Kyle had been begging for him like throw to the opposite corner all night, go open guy in the corner. And then so he calls Cat down to the corner himself. Then he positions himself to like get in between Cat's guy, basically be a screener. And then it's just like waving for Ant to like making eye contact to throw the ball to Cat. And Ant even said after the game, like I was about to shoot it, but then I was like, all right, I see you. Throws it to Cat. Cat hits the three. They go up like five or something. And that's the only game they win in that West Finals. But like that direction that like he has on the floor, like the IQ that like he is seeing the game play out and he's willing to be like, you're going here, we're doing this. Um, and just like the leadership and respect that like the best players are like Cat's like, oh, okay. And then it's like, oh, okay. Like because that's the respect they have for him and the relationships he builds and all that. Like if he can still physically do it, and he's only 32. It's not like we're talking about like this
Yeah.
36-year-old guy. Like, does he have it anymore? Um, I think it could be a real bonus. And like I said, like I just think they need the professionalism that he brought on a night to night basis. They need like the game plan discipline. They need just somebody who has a really firm grasp of what's going on, what needs to be corrected in real time, all of that. And Mike had been that for them for so long. Mike just physically is not the same guy anymore. Mike, I think, would even tell you that. Kyle, if he can still physically bring it and can bring that, they need it so bad. Um, that it could be like a major boon for them. Like we'll see, but this is one of those where maybe it's nothing, but it could really be something, and I'm interested to see.
I mean, it's just like if he can just get that kind of that stink off of him a little bit of like I'm sure you're the same way when you saw Kawhi was out tonight. It was like, oh God, like this could be another one of these games. Like if Kyle can just mitigate that a little bit, where it's like they do show up a little bit more professionally to these ones. They show up with a little bit more attention to detail, a little bit more buy-in, and like it can just change that aspect. I think it's already a win. But like if he's able to like play and play anywhere he was, I guess 3 years ago. I try to forget his last season with the Wolves because it's like that's just I don't know how you can like he's wearing rec specs. Like that was just a weird season for him. But like if he can get anywhere back to that his first year here, I mean, it could it could be a big change for this team. Even just like from a ball movement standpoint. Like he's
Right.
somebody that's just like willing to pass. So like one of my things is like Mike not being able to go at the same level. The thing that's been really detrimental with that is now when he comes into the game, Finch is telling him to shoot, everyone's telling him to shoot. And his like best attribute was like, hey, Jaden hasn't touched the ball in 8 minutes. Like, I'm just gonna get Jaden the ball. Like,
Right.
sorry,
Right.
guys. I think if Kyle's able to go, he could bring some of that back where it's, people are just more engaged and like happier, which is weird because it is like a good vibes team, but like you can just kind of tell sometimes on the court they're not having a whole lot of fun, don't you think?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and just in general, like this team is not as good as it was 2 years ago. It's just
Yeah.
not. Like I'm not saying they don't have the same ceiling, but it's not as good of a basketball team. Like they don't the stretches of high level basketball, like they're little blips. It's here and there. It's like, oh, that was a decent game, and then 2 games later, you're like, oh, they kind of stink again. It's not sustained success. It's not like, oh, this is a real contender. It doesn't look like that on a night to night basis. The optimist gauges them off their ceiling and not like what we're seeing on a night to night, you know, kind of situation. And so it's like, how do they get back to that? How do they kind of try to recapture some of that mojo, some of that, like fierceness that they just brought every single night? And if bringing somebody in from 2 years ago is like, maybe that'll help. It's trying something else. So I think it was a low risk pot. Like it sounds dumb to say that adding somebody like Kyle Anderson is a high reward, but I truly do think it's there.
Yeah.
And like like I agree with you. Like 2 years ago was a bad regular season for him, but he was really good in the playoffs. And like I said, like
Yeah.
I would challenge anybody to go watch the highlights of that blowout game too, where they didn't have Rudy, and tell me who like watch like the 15-minute clip or whatever where a lot of defensive plays are in it, and tell me who's like a major cog in it. And like because I did it like last year, and I was like just like when it was, how do they get back to being an elite defensive team? And I was like, well, Kyle Anderson's fingerprints are all over this. So maybe that's still in there, and maybe Chris Finch is somebody who can pull it out. Maybe this roster is who can kind of pull it out and like rejuvenate him. Or maybe he's just been in situations that don't cater to his skill set. I don't know. Like that's all possibilities of how he can get back to what he was here in the best of it. And we know this. There's some situations where sometimes other teams don't need your skill set. Whatever you can bring, they don't need it or they don't want it. And this team does need it. It does want it. And so we'll see if he still has it.
And so the Golden State thing was always weird to me because it's like, can you really have like two Draymond Greens?
No.
Like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
agree.
think you can have two of them. And then he goes to Miami, Utah. Like, I mean, Miami wasn't. I don't think a lot of guys are like. I think a lot of guys like to live in Miami and play basketball, but like it didn't look like it was a ton of fun to be on that Heat team last year. They seemed kind of miserable for most of the season and then got knocked out of the playoffs. And like kind of the same thing with Utah. Like I imagine it kind of sucked being in Utah all season. So I really don't even know what to expect. Like again, his metrics are still solid. So theoretically, if he comes in and can be your eighth guy, like that's a huge win for them. Like I agree with you. Like it's a very high upside. It's just gonna a lot of it's gonna be kind of just to be seen because
Hmm.
we just don't know. He hasn't had to play a meaningful game of basketball in like 18 months, which tough.
Yeah,
Uh
we'll find out early. I think we'll like 5 games in or whatever, like, and it'll be 10 minutes or whatever for Kyle here and there, and like Is it just defensively or something? Do you see an uptick there? Like, do you see him, the versatility being used? Do you see offensively, like he's, oh wow, he's sparking ball movement? Then you'll know, like, okay, maybe this is actually building towards something.
And I mean, I'll be honest, like I wouldn't be surprised if he's there Sunday. Like as long as he can clear waivers and pass a physical, like I think they're going to get him playing as soon as they can. Jace, last one though, does he come back with a headband? Are we going to have like Mike and Kyle now with headbands?
Or does he just bring the rec specs back? I don't know. It's
Turns out they never left. He just forgot them at Target Center and was like, "Oh,
it's
man,
possible. He's like, that's where these are. Yeah, they're just in his old locker, just sitting there. And he's like, okay, dust these babies off and let's wear them. Let's hope. I don't think Kyle's a headband guy. It would look weird, but
it would look weird.
We'll see.
It would. The glasses looked weird, but a headband, yeah, he's one of the true OGs that doesn't really wear anything, does he? I don't think he does.
No,
Yeah,
you're right. He does not. Yeah,
a rarity. All right, Jace, I appreciate you, man, coming on. I do, regardless of who the guest is, whether it's you, Dane, John, all the way down to a random Twitter person that sent me a DM. Anything you want to plug, anything you want to promote, any good articles coming out that you're proud of, the floor is yours, sir.
Nothing yet. I mean, I'm going to write about Kyle and what I think he can add to this team probably tomorrow. Just like a deeper thing of like, I really do think this team needs some kind of shot in the arm because it's not inspiring anything they've produced, like I said, in like a month and a half. So maybe he can be the one who kind of like helps them revert to old form of a team where you're like, oh, this team actually could contend for a title. It's like maybe it's a potential shot of magic that maybe goes up, pops up in smoke and is nothing. But I'm interested to see, and I think Wolfspan should be excited about it. I really do, like because what we've watched lately, even when they win against these depleted teams, is not it's not really anything to get overly excited about. They needed something, and maybe this is it. And if it's not, maybe it won't come this season. But this could be it. And that would be great for the Wolves and for Kyle. But like I said, hey, it could be nothing. They could be like, oh, Kyle's a shell of himself. This doesn't work. But I think it's a very worthwhile risk and one that I'm excited to see and I'm going to write about.
Absolutely. I will also be writing about it at some point in the near future. Jace, appreciate you as always. For anyone that jumped into the live stream here late, this does go up on YouTube and on X as soon as I hit end stream. And if you don't want to listen to this at 12:30 in the morning, because I certainly would not want to listen to this at 12:30 in the morning, it does come out as a podcast anywhere you get your podcasts at 7 a.m. this morning, I guess now, the 27th. But we'll be back Sunday with another post-game live. And Jace, again, man, I appreciate it.
Hey, had fun, Andrew. Good chatting.